Welcome, everyone. This is our MSF cast on MilSpouse Education. We're so happy to be here today, and we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to do my little screen share for our slides. Okay. And give me 1 second. Every time I do this, there we go. You guys can see it now, right? Excellent. So we have really loved putting this whole panel discussion together. Our events are all of our events are sponsored by USAA, and we really appreciate their longstanding support of MilSpouse Fest. And this particular webinar is sponsored by Golden Gate University. So thank you to Golden Gate for putting this together to help us get some great content for our spouse community. If you're not already connected with us on social media, please go ahead and write this down, and you can follow us on Facebook at MilSpouse Official. We also have a Instagram, a Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and we were really just loving our LinkedIn audience and our connections that we're making in there. And also, of course, our website, where you can find all about our upcoming events. We have a great newsletter that we put out every other week with curated content, including Spouse Employment Corner, which we love that. So you can sign up to follow us along there. And last but not least, join us back again next September, September 22nd, for a MilKid Education webinar sponsored by Tutor.com and USAA. So those are available on our website, milspousefest.com/events, and our team can drop the link to sign up for that into the chat. So our lovely panelists today, we have a really great opportunity here to talk one-on-one, and you guys are going to, after they do their presentations, you're going to get to interact with them and ask questions that I will be moderating on a panel. So we will get on to that. And okay, we all like prizes, right? If it's free, it's for me, is my saying. So our team came up with these prizes for you all: $25 DoorDash, $25 Amazon gift cards. For those of you who have logged in on time, we're going to pull 2 names. And then if you stay with us until till the end, then you're going to get, we're going to pull 2 more prizes at the end. So that's Maria Melvin and Mary Montoya. They're helping us out here running the event. So you'll see their names in the chat. So thanks again to our presenting sponsor, USAA, and the MilSpouse Education sponsor, Golden Gate University. So, all right. So I'm just going to take it right from the top. And since Karen was the first one to join in, Karen, why don't we start with you? And you can go ahead and give your introduction.
Hi, I hope everyone's hearing me. Yes, good. Always have to check, right? I'm going to also share my screen. I promise I don't do PowerPoint karaoke. I find it really annoying, but sometimes it helps for you to be able to see some of the things. I know we've got a couple of minutes to talk about our programs, so I want to touch really briefly on the fact that these are free, no cost, and available to spouses at any time during military service, or as a veteran spouse after you get out. And there's no time limit to that. So if you're a veteran spouse and your spouse got out like mine did, wow, 6 years ago, you're still eligible. Okay. So there's the entrepreneurship and small business. That's a sister program to mine. Got a great idea, expensive hobby that you'd like to turn into a business. There are all kinds of free training, education, and most importantly, networking and groups to join. For the career preparation and employment, we do counseling. I'm a career coach, so I'm always available to chat and help you figure out what you're going to do with that doily resume to figure out how you're going to get a great career going before or after you are no longer an active duty spouse. Here's the current list. Anyone who's looking at going, by the way, into a company that does cybersecurity, you must have a Security Plus, I'm told. It's a new reg, 8570. I have to write it down because I always missay it. And yes, you can do that for free online. We've also got business management. If you want to get that PMP or a Six Sigma Green Belt, maybe you're more into human resources, you can get a PHR or an SPHR. Here's how to apply. Grab your phone, stick it up to your computer screen. If it doesn't work, here's a really simple thing to do. Capital O, the number 2, capital O, and that gets you there. Okay, so that's all I'm going to share. I told you I don't do PowerPoint karaoke. I'm going to keep putting my information in the chat, but I know I've got a booth. I've had a couple of people contact me already, which is wonderful. And I hope to talk to some of you soon.
Thanks so much, Karen. And if you wanted to put that link, type it out in our chat, we'll transfer it over into Whova for our audience for you, okay? Thanks so much. So I'm just going to go in the order that I see everyone here on the screen. And so that means that Terri is up next. So Terri, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and give you the spotlight.
I'm Terri Lichlyter. I am so excited to be on this amazing panel today. Some of my favorite people, resources that I've used. So this is really exciting. I am a military spouse. My husband is active duty at 19 years. I was in the travel industry way back when, and then when we had kids, I stayed at home. I called myself a professional volunteer, so I volunteer for everything. I was a part of, community groups and school groups and military groups. So I have some experience on my resume, but about a year ago, I started thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to, my kids are a little bit older now, I can go back to work. And I heard this word Salesforce. And at first I thought, well, I don't want to be in sales, so that's not for me, but I kept hearing it. So I finally went and researched, what is Salesforce? Well, it's the world's largest CRM, customer relationship management tool. It's a database basically that a lot of big companies, including our sponsor, USAA, use. So when you learn Salesforce, you're not becoming a salesperson. You are learning how to manage this database for a company. So I started looking at the training, which is amazing because there's a lot of free training out there for anybody in Salesforce, but especially for the military community. We have this amazing Salesforce military that will train us. You can do all of the online training for free. You can get online classes for free, and then the certifications for free, all through Salesforce military. So I started looking at that last fall and got a little stuck. And then I found another great resource that's available for the military community called Maravis. And it's like a cohort style training that will take you through the Salesforce training, all still free. But you get to go through it with other people. So you're not just, at your desk trying to click through. So through Maravis training, I was able to get certified and get the base certification pretty much is your admin certification. And so I got that last winter and have since gotten another certification. I've mentored spouses who have gotten their certifications, and now I work for a wonderful consultancy that is all military spouses and veterans as a Salesforce administrator, consultant, helping mostly nonprofits administer their Salesforce orgs. So I am here today to answer any questions that you might have about Salesforce, the free training that's available, and to talk about why I think it's the best career for military spouses. By the way, I had no tech background, so you do not have to be like an IT person to do this. I had no tech background coming in, but I work remotely from my house. I can, be here when my kids are get home from school. It's a portable career, so I just think it's wonderful for military spouses. So I will drop some links for you guys to check out, and I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn and answer any questions that anyone has about it.
Thanks so much, Terri. We're so glad that you're here today, and what a great opportunity for you all who might be thinking about this to talk with somebody directly who's just done this. So that really helped round out our panel, like bringing that actual military spouse who's doing this to us, not just the resources that are here too. So next up, we're going to ask Laura Torres with Blue Star Families with Spouseforce to take the spotlight.
Thank you, Julie. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here and for taking the initiative, the extra step to come and learn about great resources. So I'm Laura Torres, Senior Manager of Workforce Partnerships here at Blue Star Careers, Blue Star Families. I also do diverse talent sourcing. That's part of my recent add-on title, because our military spouse community is very diverse, and we want to make sure that everyone gets a great invite and opportunity to work, to join the workforce. So I've been doing this job for quite a bit. And you guys know this community. I love to be able to share great opportunities that are available. Now, in the past, most recent times, we've been supporting military spouses more on a social level. We actually dropped all the extra fancy technology, and we came and we met spouses where they are, which is on social media. So if you're not part of our Spouseforce virtual community, please join it. Where in fact, we've been celebrating 2-year anniversary today since we relaunch or launch it officially through our Facebook community. So join that. And then also, I'm here to answer any questions about specific training opportunities and things that you might have. I did do a couple of breakout sessions. So go to the community portal here in WOVA in the app and sign up for those info sessions, because I'm going to be discussing more on most recent training options that I do. So the way our program, our work works is we are able to help you and connect you with some of our key partners that allow us to share resources at no cost to military spouses, so that then these resources or upskilling opportunities can help you land a career. Now, myself, given that I'm a military spouse who has, just like you guys, ventured into so many free no-cost training certifications, and because I'm also in the position on where I am and collaborating with so many partners, I know that a key component of landing a career after a certification, it really has a really strong influence if you actually have some experience or you have on-the-job training with this certification. So some of the specific training options that we've been very strategic or more intentional in selecting are because I really want to make sure that we not only offer you the training options available through our program, but also lead you into a job. Now, if you choose not to do the job, you're just training for the sake of loving to train, and that's perfect. But our goal is really to intend to not only offer you the training opportunity, but also be able to help you make those introductions to the employers. And by the way, I want to send Jay a shout out right now, and I know he's going to get himself, and he's going to introduce himself soon, but he was very instrumental in making those introductions for us last year, and for us to be able to connect with the Coursera people, because that's how we ended up launching and resectioning our Spouseforce learning hubs. So if you're not familiar about those, then again, come and see me. I've gone through so many different multiple certifications out and about in the community as well. And so I'm very versed in a lot of those processes and how it works. Many of them, of course, I have not certified myself or finished up, but I know exactly where those could lead. So let me know how we can best support you. I will drop in the links where you can connect with us, with me on LinkedIn, through our Facebook group, which is our virtual community, or directly to our website. We have some great news coming up in September, which is a new virtual community that is actually part of the entire Blue Star Families ecosystem. We're moving into a little more close, more private range. So we'll see how that works out, but we'll still have a virtual community where we'll meet spouses and support you where you at. So again, feel free to reach out and connect with me. Love to be able to chat with you and be very proactive in helping you land a career with great intentions. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Laura. We're so glad that you were here to share all of those wonderful things. And isn't it nice to hear how these orgs all work together to help solve the needs of the community? That's what I love about bringing these panels together. I'm going to give a quick pause here, and I'm going to announce our 2 prize winners. And then Jill, you'll be next. So our first two prize winners are Amber Barkley. Congratulations. You're going to get the $25 Amazon gift card. And Kinasha Elliott, you're getting the $25 DoorDash. So we'll type those names in the chat, and then our team will message you through Whova to make sure that we've got your email. I think we can probably find it from your account. What am I saying? But anyway, we'll type your names in those chat. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the spotlight now, and that would be up to you, Jill. So take it away. Thanks so much for being here today with Golden Gate.
Thanks so much. So my name's Jill New, and I'm the Career Programs and Outreach Manager at the Diller Center at Golden Gate University. But I'm also a spouse. I've also done what I'm doing right now, career coaching and all of that in a variety of locations, and mostly in higher education. So that's why I'm here to talk about how do you access higher education in post-secondary school, 2- and 4-year schools. How do you, decide if you already have a degree or you kind of started, because most spouses either have a degree or they have credits, like most adults. What do you do with that? And then, what about you have the bachelor's degree in something? So like me, I have a French degree and I don't do anything with speaking French. So, you had that degree that you finished when you were in your early 20s, and now you're not in the early 20s anymore, and your life is very different. And now what do you do? And you want to go back to school. So that's what I'm talking about today. I have a few things that I think are really important when you're considering going to post-secondary school. It's knowing about the school and choosing a school, which really key to me is understanding their accreditation. You want to attend a school that is accredited by a regional accreditation board or professional accreditations, also depending on like the major. So certain academic programs have a professional accreditation on top of their regional accreditations. Like, for example, for us, we have a law school, so our law school is accredited by the American Bar Association, but there's a variety for engineering and accounting and business and things like that. So it's just knowing, is your school accredited? Knowing their financial structure. Are they a for-profit, a nonprofit, a public school, a private school? Those are all things that are really important. If you're seeing anything in the news, especially about student loans and loan forgiveness and any of those kind of things, you need to make sure you're paying attention to that, because some schools we're not doing things the right way, according to the Department of Education, in terms of being really honest about how they're using your money. So I think that's really important. Golden Gate's also accredited regionally by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. And that's kind of the same accrediting body for any University of California or California State schools. So Golden Gate is a nonprofit private school. Also choosing a program. If you're like me and you have that liberal arts degree that you don't do anything with, and you're like, well, what do I do now? Choosing a program is important. You need a way kind of, what are your academic interests, but also like, what do you want to do with that degree? So there's a lot of focus on the employability, and you always hear people talk about, why do you have a history degree if you're not going to teach history? But if you like history, I think it's really important to be successful academically, because employers aren't just looking at just your degree. They're looking at what your degree is in, but they're not just looking at your program of study. Most employers, and this is coming from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they have a job outlook study that they always do. And I'll share this really quick because it's really important, but I think that everybody understands this, is that employers are interested in your soft skills. And I talked a little bit about it in Whova and some of the chats and things like that, but employers care about your soft skills that you can get in any degree program. So the top 3 in 2020 were problem solving. And if you're a military spouse, we're pros. I mean, 91% of employers want to know that, but you can do that. I mean, we've all moved somewhere and unpacked somewhere and made a new friend or built a new community and got our kids enrolled in school, or all of those things. We're problem solvers. So making sure you're illustrating that to an employer is important, regardless of what you've studied. Ability to work in a team, we can do that too. Strong work ethic, we're workhorses. I mean, I've seen all the TikToks lately about women who are moving furniture by themselves. And I know we have some our male spouses. I know you're out there moving furniture by yourself without asking for help too. But I mean, we are strong. We have strong work ethics. We know what we're going to do quickly. And you can show that in any degree program, no matter what you study. So don't think you just have to go get a tech degree because tech is big and exciting. If you love anthropology, then study anthropology. That's what I think. And then you're a well-rounded individual and able to approach anything in any kind of work environment. Other things, you can use basic career assessments. There's a lot coming from Career One Stop and the ONA Interest Profiler, which I'll drop those links for you. Those are just the things that I think you can match career interest and academic interest and find something kind of in the middle. Golden Gate's popular programs of study include business and technology, accounting, and like I said, we have a law school, and we're also introducing a Bachelor of Arts in Law program this fall. So, and we have a JD Flex program, which is great for spouses who aren't going to be in residence anywhere. Do you need to know the best mode of instruction? I need old school, like in-person study, but we have short amounts of time that we study, that we have to finish a degree program. So those are important for you to pay attention to. And then what does student support look like? And this is key. Do they have childcare on campus or nearby? Do they have tutoring? Because it's been a hot minute since you've taken calculus or written a paper in English. Do they have these refresher courses for those types of classes that it's been a while since you've taken it? If it's an in-person program, is it easy for you to get to? Is the parking easy? Is the parking expensive? Do they have good places to study on campus if you need to have that separation between home and school? Do they have, what's their online learning platform like? Are there support for that? Are the classes really big and does that work for you? Or the class is really small and that's what you need? So asking those questions, do they have a military connection type of support center? What do they have that can, returning adult students support programs? These are all the kinds of things that you can look at in a school. And I'm happy to talk more about that later.
Thanks so much, Jill. We're glad that you were here and we appreciated your feedback. I really liked hearing what you're talking about like, what do you need to do? Like the childcare, the tutoring. So that was really helpful. Okay, next up is Lori Adams. Lori, I'm going to have you take over the spotlight now.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Lori Adams. I'm the Veterans Policy Director at an association we've never heard of before, the National Association of State Workforce Agencies. I'm going to call us NASWA. You can see it in the screen there. What we are is a membership organization of all 50 states, BC, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. And our members are the state workforce agencies that provide all kinds of training, retraining, and employment services to anyone across the United States. And our members, those state workforce agencies, operate a network of what's called an American Job Center. And that's a place, there are like 2,400 of them across the United States. Every state has them. And they, as I said, they offer all kinds of services, most of them at no cost. I think what I really want to stress is these places are not the unemployment office. And there's a lot of people that have thought that, oh, that's the employment office, I don't want to go there. And that's true. They do provide that as a service, but it's typically something you want to get that taken care of and get that done and focus on reemployment and finding training that's a good match for your skill set. One thing that the pandemic did that was actually some positive is that the American Job Centers developed a lot of virtual tools that made their services even more available and accessible to people that may not be in that state or even in that time zone, maybe even not even in the continental United States. So those are our members. And what I want to talk about is those services, but also NASWA partners with a lot of other organizations to make different tools and different opportunities available to the military spouses, the veteran, the transitioning service member, and any member of that military family. So I do want to share my screen really quickly. And like Karen, I don't want to kill you off on slides, but I just want to talk about, and hopefully everybody can, what's that? Can everybody see my slide that says Grow with Google? Yay. Okay. I don't think I have this displayed quite correctly, but bear with me. About a year ago, we had an opportunity to partner with Grow with Google. And Grow with Google gave us the opportunity to provide scholarships to people who want to get some technical training. And I shouldn't say technical, that's not really correct, but there's 6 different certifications that Grow with Google provides our customers access to. And these scholarships cover the Coursera platform costs. Coursera is the platform. And come on. Well, there. Technology is not my friend today. We provide scholarships through the states, and these state workforce agencies and the American Job Centers that I mentioned. And we can provide military spouses, members of their family, transition service members, access to these 6 certificates. They're virtual training developed by Google, and the scholarships cover the $39 per month cost to access the Coursera platform. So there's no cost to the individual to take this training and to get these certificates. And you can see there's digital marketing and e-commerce, IT automation with Python, IT support, data analytics, project management, and user experience design. So this is something that we can offer if a military spouse is interested in any of these certifications. You can talk to me and I'll get you connected up with the state that can offer these. Another thing that I want to just briefly mention is that the American Job Centers are your gateway to something called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA. And what a lot of people don't realize is that while WIOA, and pardon my use of acronyms, is often thought of as something for people who maybe have lost their job through no fault of their own or low income, but there is specific language in the act that makes military spouses eligible for these services and for the training funds that are available through WIOA. So it does include military spouses who lost employment through PCS, deployment called active duty, or the service member's death or disability. And it includes military spouses that are unemployed, underemployed, or experiencing difficulty in obtaining or upgrading employment. And you get priority of service because it's funded by the Department of Labor. And you can access this through any one of those American Job Centers I mentioned. And there's a link here that someone can go to and check and find the closest American Job Center to them. So that's something that's also available. Another thing that I want to mention is that we also can connect military spouses with the Hilton Honors Program. Hilton offers military spouses, transitioning service members, and veterans access to 100,000 Hilton Honors hotel points that can be used for employment-related activities, which can include training needed to get her through the job. And it's currently available in 31 states. But if someone's not in a state that doesn't have a red dot in it, you can just talk to me. I can still make it happen. So this is just something that's a really great program that's available. And then the last thing I want to mention is that even though this is not technically education per se, a lot of the, when you're going back to school, when you're seeking educational opportunities, probably want to think about, your goal is to find a job. And there, we can provide access. This is the largest nonprofit job board in the United States, National Labor Exchange. And it does have a virtual jobs platform as well. And I put the 2 links to the website that you can look at there. So my whole slide deck is available in my booth. And you can also see a video of a military spouse who took advantage of the Google program. I just want to go back to something that Jill mentioned about ONET. ONET is a wonderful tool for lots of things, but if you're working with someone who maybe is trying to upgrade their resume because they've just finished their education, you could go in and, and you're trying to find, more verbs to use or more keywords that you think will catch an employer's attention. ONET is a great source for that. You put in like the job title and it'll describe that job. And you know what? Copy and paste and borrow that language because it can really make the resume more robust. And sometimes we get stuck on using different words and get stuck using the same words. So that can really be a great benefit. So I'm really glad that Jill brought that up. So I can talk about all day about all the things that we can do. But check out my booth and I'm happy to answer your questions and I'll make sure that my contact information is available. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Lori. I love that you mentioned that you can go visit your booth and get all the content. So really important for everyone that's watching today that there's opportunities for you guys to do that for all the booths that are here. So I'm going to invite Jay to take over the spotlight now. Thank you so much, Jay, for being here with us in this crazy time zone you're in. Act Now Education founder, and our team at MilSpouse Fest was really so happy to find you and hear about all the wonderful things that you're doing for our community and all the free resources you have, not just for spouses, but also for veterans. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to that because sometimes we have people that come on and think we're only for spouses, but you guys have some great stuff going on too. So take it away, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Just real quick, who's ever tuning on, let me know where you guys are joining us from. I want to see some action in the chat. I want to thank you all for kind of tuning in and listening. We have quite a bit of things at Act Now Education. All right, shout out to Amber, shout out to Renee, Monica, thank you. Oh, we got people from Spain. So we got people from all over. Not only, so I'm in Bahrain, I'm active duty military, and I created a nonprofit called Act Now Education to kind of center focus on helping the military community in a whole to be able to provide resources. What I would like to say is, though I'm an active duty service member, it's important to me, it's vital to me that you as a military spouse understand the significance that you play. I wouldn't be able to do half of the stuff I do if it wasn't for my wife at home taking care of my 2 kids in the household, right? And so for me, everything that I do in terms of Act Now Education or supporting the community, making sure it's focused on being able to provide resources for military spouses and veteran military spouses, which is even a smaller demographic that does get overlooked a lot of times as soon as a member transitions out the military. That doesn't mean they're still not part of the community, but I'm not sure why that happens. So we focus on those things. Denise, I see you from Maryland, all right. Kanisha from Georgia. So a little bit about what we do. We have about 40,000 members in our Act Now community on Facebook, and we pretty much built that organization. It's all members, well, volunteers are all either active duty, veterans, military spouses, veteran military spouses or reservists that kind of help put everything together. No one is paid. Everyone does this out of the passion of their heart because they want to be able to make a difference and an impact in the community. So we provide free certifications, free certificates. We recently just got rid of, well, not get rid of, we recently offered 200 master's degrees for military spouses, veteran military spouses and active duty. And it was in management and one's in financial planning. And so we end up going through that within 2 weeks. So I'm grateful for a lot of people signing up for that and taking advantage of that. But everything we provide is free resources. Now you may be sitting here and like, hey, this is a lot of information. I'm not sure where to start. I'm really not sure how to digest this information and where to go. That's kind of what we focus on. There's over 40,000 different resources for the military community. And what we do is we try to make it a little bit more direct so you can identify what opportunities for you. So if you're not sure what you want to do, like Valerie, if you're like, I'm not sure what I want to do, I'm living in VA, but I want to get into this type of career field, how do I go about doing that, right? We will tell you or show you programs that are free that will show you how to do that or how to break into these different fields. So if you're interested in project management, if you're interested in human resources, if you're interested in tech, there's a multitude. So I tell anyone, never pay for anything, come to us first because there's so many resources out there. But to give you an example, if you're interested in going down the project management route, or you're interested in going down the HR route, the one thing I would recommend is use a program called Veterati. Veterati connects you to experts in the field of that field. So you can do informational interviews, talk to them about what they do, their day in the life of, get a better perspective of what it is that they do, so that you can kind of understand, okay, I think I would like that position. Then once you have a good understanding of what you want to do, you can kind of connect with people from ACP, American Corporate Partners, provides you with executive level mentor, which is usually somewhere in industry about $10,000 to $15,000, but they give it to you for free. For 12 months, you have this mentor guiding you in your industry, and I would choose someone that's in my state. So whatever state that you're in, connect with that person. And they'll do mentorship with you each month for 12 months. And this is for veteran military spouse, active duty military spouses. And so that will help you kind of determine where you want to go, how you want to pivot, and what you want to do. And then on top of that, if you want to break into tech, there's a bunch of programs that kind of cater to that. O2O talked about their opportunities. There's a lot of certifications that we offer. We're connected to Splunk, we're connected to Coursera, we even connected to Intuit. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there. So if you want to break into tech, there's ways to go about it and get hands-on experience, like the Cyber Workforce Alliance program, which provides you with free training based off of NIST if you're interested. And then when you get done with that training, they will find you a job. Or Empower, an organization that provides you certifications. And when you get completed with that certification, they will find you a job. And so programs like that really push you into opportunity. So it's more of what you know, and that's what we focus on. I could have jumped on the slides, but I just figured, like, getting it from me, we are here to help you as best as we possibly can. If you do not have a network, connect with me on LinkedIn. My network is your network. And most of the people that know me know how I am. So I'm here to support. My team is here to support. And that's a little bit about Untitled Education. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jay. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you this question right now because it's already in the chat. Does this program have opportunities for retired veteran spouses?
Anyone in the military community, and that includes retired veteran spouses, active duty reservists, we do not, everyone, even your children, we have programs for your children. We want to make sure it's all inclusive, because there are opportunities out there. And so what we do is our team scours through all the resources, and we say, these are the resources that are available for you. Active duty widow, if you are somehow affiliated with the military, we have something for you, guaranteed. And if we don't, connect with me and I'll find something for you. That's a promise from me.
That is amazing. So I appreciate that. And Angela wants to know if we can repeat the name of the program.
Oh, okay. Which ones? The ones I was talking about quite a few.
There's a lot, I know. You might need to go and visit the exhibitor booth to get more details. That's the best place. Take some time after the webinar and go explore in Whova, and you can read about each person that's been here today and their org that they're representing. So Jay is with Act Now, and you talked about a couple different programs.
Yeah, like I said, there's a multitude of different programs, but if you're definitely interested, and while we talk, I will definitely show some other or talk about others. So yeah, there's a lot of programs out there, opportunities out there. Please feel free to connect with me. And like I said, I will definitely point you in the right direction.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to the second part of this, and this is now our panel discussion. And this is really what I was looking most forward to. I appreciate everyone being able to share about their orgs and what they do, but now it's the time for everyone here that is live on chat to type their comments in. And I'm going to start off by reading some of the Q&As, and I've pinned everyone. And so I'm just going to let you guys chime in, and when you have something that you want to offer feedback. So before we even get into the Q&A, one of the questions that was asked in the chat is, I am so overwhelmed by all these resources, and as a spouse and a veteran, and I'm just weighing what should be best. Where do I start? Somebody want to take that? Erin. Okay, and then Jay, you can chime in after.
The most important thing while you're being bombarded with all this, you need to look at what your goal is. What's the career you want? Yes, there are a bazillion bright, shiny objects out there, and you can squirrel like crazy and do Salesforce training, and then you do this, and then you get a PMP, and you end up with a whole bunch of certifications, a headache, and it didn't get you anywhere because maybe the perfect job that you want doesn't need them. Yes, education for education's sake. I would take anthropology any day of the week, Jill. Actually, medieval English and French history. I mean, you cannot be more, out there than that one. That was my first choice. But you need to figure out the career path that you're looking at, and then find someone who's in that path. Find someone who's got the job that makes you go, yes, if you live in the National Capital Region, I'll get on the Beltway for that job. That means a lot around here. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to work at a job that makes you go, yes, this is what I want, find someone who's got it and ask them. LinkedIn is your best way to do it. Reach out to someone on LinkedIn, say, you have followed a career path that I think is wonderful. If they're military affiliated, mention that, and then start a conversation. Don't just get a cert to get a cert. Be very particular and very focused.
Thanks, Karen. Before we go to Jay, I saw you mentioned LinkedIn, and Mary created a LinkedIn ladder over in our community section. So for all of you listening, go hop over onto the community board, type in your LinkedIn information, and that way you can all connect with each other today and then utilize the networking from this event today. So Jay, did you have something else you wanted to add on to what Karen was saying?
Yes, absolutely. And Karen's absolutely right. Have a goal. Start with the end in mind. And this may sound crazy, but I want to talk about this demographic so you can kind of understand what is going on, so you can feel better about your approach. Typically, about 84% of the folks that transition out of the military after a year end up leaving their first job. That's a lot of folks. There's over 200,000 folks that transition out of the military every year. Now, with that number, right, for active duty folks, they really don't even, they think they want to do one particular job, career field, and then it doesn't work out and they just land whatever they can find, or they take a certification thinking that it's going to lead to what they want, and it's not necessarily what they want when they find. The best thing to do is to do informational interviews. If you have the ability to talk to folks and get a good understanding of what's required for a particular job, that way you can see yourself in it, that's the direct connect, right? If you're jumping from one platform to another, you need data points. And so talking to people that's in that career field can help you out, can help you understand. It's always easier for me to speak to someone inside the building that can open the side door than try to go through the front, right? Because they're going to tell me exactly what I need to know, whether it's good or bad. And that's what you're going to need to connect to. Now, with the squirrel routine, there's everybody, right? We want to do everything, and there's only 24 hours in a day. And if we have kids, that you could cut down 12 hours. If you have a husband that just wants to chill and lay out, that you cut down another 3 hours. So like by the time you get to it, you have 1 hour for yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself and you focus on what drives you, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to push you to get through most of your processes. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. You shouldn't feel that way. You guys are awesome at what you do. Even though you're running a household, there's businesses that you can run the same way. There's businesses that you can take some of your skill sets and apply it. So don't necessarily feel any way about trying to apply for jobs. Just like I said, take some informational interviews. Make sure you understand the goal, the end goal, have your end in mind. Connect with mentors, Veterati, ACP, those programs, USO Pathfinders, they all offer free connections to mentors that can kind of help guide you, and then start from there. Like I said, you're not trying to run a marathon. You're not trying to run a sprint. You're doing a marathon. So you're trying to understand what works best for you. And what works best for you is not going to necessarily work best for the next person. So connect with people, learn as much as you possibly can, then slowly make decisions. If you're interested in anything that you see, just start with that one thing. Like, okay, you heard 020 first. I'm going to start there. Let me just start there. Don't worry about anything else. Start there, see where that takes you, then start looking at other things. Do not throw yourself into the vast resource, because that's what we do. We have a lot of resources, and a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do.
Decision paralysis. That's what it's called, right? And so the first thing that you do is the first step. Just do something. Honestly, I think that's great feedback. So we've gotten a couple of questions here in the chat, and one is specific to certifications. What resources are there for certifications? They have some work experience and training, but no official certifications and training. So where would they start for that? And they're also wondering about scholarships, which is someone else asked about that later too, in a different thing.
Did they say specifically what type of certifications they're looking to get?
Training, capital T and training. That's what they're looking for. Certifications and training.
That's 020 certification.
That's very complex. I'm sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to pay. That's a very complex question, because it could be any of us.
Yeah, that's huge.
Any certification.
ATD. It says they're looking for ATD.
ATD.
I'm not sure what that is.
I know that is. That's a yes. So I mean, that's a whole monster of training and places out there. You have to go out there, and that's employer training and stuff. That's another website out there, partner, where you actually have to invest, pay for it. So you have to be very intentional that you do want to join that community. It's usually for career coaches or long-term individuals who are going to be in the employment space. So you have to be very, very intentional when you're trying to invest into some of your certifications, your training, your route, in my opinion, right? Because we all grow, and there's no, in my opinion, and I'm going to throw that out there a lot. In my opinion, there's no such thing as your dream job. Once you give a job or a company, in my personal view, it's you fall in love with the company, what they have to offer you, where you at in that particular place, and how you are going to make your lifestyle or your personal experience sort of a fit. Some of that, obviously, I'm not going to join a place that is going to be super unhappy or anything, but the job itself has to be driven, and it has to draw you a little bit better so that you can invest in certifications and upskill for that. And once you're in there, you'll discover sometimes that you have some really incredible ways for you to grow your career. And that also shapes up your choice for certifications and to continue to upskill yourself more. Since I joined my specific role, I thought I wanted to join. I did the 020, I did Salesforce already. I already did cybersecurity. I've tested and done almost everything. But once you get into the more comfort zone and more seasoned in your specific line of work, or you get, you age out from that specific role, that you find yourself that you're inclined to more specific training options that are a little more targeted to your really long-term vision. But there will be some transitional careers and some transitional certifications that you can certainly, team up and take advantage of to take advantage of and to help you land that career. And I will look up the ATD, I'm thinking she's talking about, and share that website with Maria so we can share it in the chatter. That's a really great place out there to go find additional trainings for, training and development for employees, for employer learners, and all that kind of thing. And it's a really great place to belong to.
Thank you.
Okay, I have some information on it. So I had to just quickly look it up because I had no clue what that was. Thank you for providing that. So it's the Associated for Talent Development. And essentially it looks like the certification costs about $500 for members and $600 for non-members. If you're interested in trying to knock out that certification, resources that you can use, it's MyCAA. They give you a certain amount for certifications. I think it's depending on what your husband's rank is, that offers an opportunity. But there's also the Goodwill. They just partnered with USAA, and they have a new scholarship program for military spouses, veterans, and active duty that gives you about $1,000 for any training that you're interested in. So you can utilize that to also cover the fees. So if you don't fit in between what the coverage is for MyCAA, you can jump into that program and you can pay for it. So there's a lot of other opportunities, but yeah, those are the two that I would recommend taking advantage of so you can pay for that cert. and then go down the path of training for that.
Could you type that in the chat for us, Jay? Because I think that was fantastic. And that's one that I wasn't aware of. And do you know, someone asked, they're already taking a project management Coursera course, and they're wondering if it's too late to get a scholarship. Do you know?
No, so like for us, yeah, it's not what Coursera is doing. So if you're already paying out of Coursera's pocket, what you can do is like my Act Now Education, you get all of 7,000 courses on Coursera and 26 certificates, 500 specialties, all of them for free. So Google has about 9 certificates. They're not certifications, they're certificates. So you get 9 certificates, and then IBM has a bunch of certificates. The thing to keep in mind, Google and IBM actually are worth college credits. So collectively together, if you took all the Google certificates and you took all the IBM certificates, that's 96 college credits that you can get from Accredited, which is sponsored by ACE, American Council for Education. So for free, you're not paying a dime. And so there's a bunch of programs that you can take advantage of that. And if you're already paying, all you do have to do is switch over to your account. So applying with NASWA, they have the 6. You can apply with Laura. She has the same program that we have with Coursera. So there's a lot of different opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you. Lori, did you have something you wanted to add about that?
I just wanted to add that through the Grow with Google partnership that we have between NASWA and Google, if someone has already started in one of the certificate programs that we can offer scholarships for, we can get them, if they've already started, that's not too late to still get a scholarship to cover any of the remaining costs they might have. So those scholarships cover the Coursera access fee. So it's not too late. I did put a link in this chat, Julie, that can be put in the Whoova chat that tells a little bit more information about our program and how someone can access it.
Thank you so much. So there's a question in here about a spouse who's asking about their service member, and they had a difficult time during COVID, and they couldn't finish the program due to the stress. And they want to know if there's a program out there that can help him with finishing his anthropology degree.
That's a good one.
I did not know that your spouse started an anthropology degree when I mentioned anthropology. I was just trying to make sure I found the most liberal arts of liberal arts degrees that people are like, why are you studying that? I did kind of reply in the chat, but
You did, okay.
This really applies not just to your service member, but also to any spouse. When there are medical and disability things that came into play, maybe things came up after you finished school, because I mean, there's a lot of spouses who have children with special needs, and you know all the ins and outs of IEPs in public school, but maybe for you, you didn't have to deal with any of those kinds of things while you were in school. And your service member, probably it's the same. And then things have come up as life happens and things change, and brain chemistry and physical things change as we get older. Because I mean, I know my back is really messed up and I use my ADA accommodations in the workplace, but those also apply in higher education. So reaching out to a university's educational accessibility or disability services is going to be really key for your service member. Understanding how, what types of accommodations are going to work really well for your service member in the classroom. Do they need to be online? Do they need to be hybrid? Golden Gate has tons of different types of modes of instruction. So there's asynchronous, synchronous, online, alternating in person, and then online, purely on what's called an LMS, or learning management system, all kinds of things. What's going to work best and be the best accommodation for your service member to finish that. He also needs to find a school that has a degree program in anthropology, if that's the degree he wants to finish. The good thing about if you have a liberal arts degree, which I have found out on my own, and in academic advising, is a lot of those classes are most of your core courses as well. So if he wanted to pivot and change, he needs to talk to a transfer advisor at the school that he's looking at. Transfer advisors are great at understanding what kind of credits you already have. So for spouses, I mean, maybe you start in community college, right? Maybe when you first met your spouse, and then you decided you weren't going to finish that degree, but those credits don't go away. They don't expire. So you need to speak to a transfer advisor and a transfer admissions officer when you're looking at going back to school, either for a 2-year or a 4-year degree program. If you're that type of unicorn of a spouse veteran, you know, you did all kinds of things, and maybe career college and those kinds of things, those credits can still transfer. Most schools have a cap of how many credits you can transfer in. But if you don't talk to them about what you already have and order your transcripts and have them look at your transcripts, that's money down the drain. You can be finished quicker if you know to speak to a transfer advisor. So for your active duty service member and for yourself, make sure you're talking to a transfer admissions, you know where your transcripts are, and just do the research about the degree program. You don't want to go to somewhere that doesn't have the degree program that he can finish. So I think that's really important.
Thanks so much, Jill. That was a lot of information, but super helpful. There is a question here that's generic.
I do have resources for that. I'm just going to provide resources. I'm going to let everyone else talk, and I'm just going to list the resources that's connected to that. So the Posse is a veterans program that actually helps veterans get help while they're going through college. So it's a group of veterans. It's pretty much they connect together, and it's a nonprofit that helps out. The other one is Service Veterans of America, SVA. They also help essentially provide that support system as well. So utilizing those two can definitely help out. And then the last one is the Next Step Inbound. Next Step Inbound does the same thing. Pretty much helps him kind of prepare for getting back into school, and then developing pretty much a tight circle around them so that they can get through collectively together. They could be doing different degrees, but they'll, it's like more motivation. So it's a lot of different programs out there, but yeah.
Thank you. So there was a question whether this recording will be made available later. And I neglected to tell you that yes, it will. We are recording this now. We will upload the recording onto our YouTube channel, and then we will link that YouTube back into Whova. So if you have a friend who registered who's not here today, they can pop into Whova and watch it later and read the comments, or you can just share that link out of the YouTube once it's up. So thanks for asking that. Someone asked, that's not quite education related, but it sort of is. I'm working on my own business, and what assistance and mentorships are available for me? So some of you here might have some experience in that entrepreneur area. Karen?
Yeah, it's called the entrepreneurship arm of the IVMF, which is the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, except we now have a new name, the Daniello Institute for Veterans and Military Families. The entrepreneurship arm, if you go to our website, like I said, Google capital O, the number 2, capital O, or IVMF. You'll see a list of programs, drop-down box, entrepreneurship. It's free. And spouses, female spouses, there are special programs for female veterans and spouses. And again, they're all free. There's a lot of training because we've got a big school of business up at Syracuse University, but there's also the mentorship. VWise is a huge program, and EBVF is a huge program. And like I said, it's not just the egghead stuff, the business stuff. It's the actual, this is what I did. This is what I've done. Don't make this mistake. Do this. Don't do that. And you get it from people who are in your same level or somebody who's already done it, so that you're always working with somebody that can help you answer those weird questions that nobody really wants to ask anyone, right? But yeah, that's on our website, and it's free to use. So go for that. And I know, Laura, don't you have some with BSF?
For entrepreneurship, yes, of course. We partner up with the Veteran Chamber of Commerce, with the Rosie Network, Bunker Labs. There's a ton of different resources for you to be able to utilize and launch your career as an entrepreneur, and solidify more your business vision. With obviously, with the support of a smaller network, however you are designing and drafting that specific career path. So please go to the booth so that we can share those resources for you and be able to share more in one-on-one support if that's the route you want to go for.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm seeing some chatter in here about being an accredited financial counselor. They're aware of FINRA and AFCPE. Is there anything else that you guys are aware of with that? Jay, you shaking your head?
Yeah, we're partnered with a school that offers that certification for free. It's called American College. You can just apply to it. All you have to do is fill out the application. Please make sure the application is filled out in detail. Like I said, American College of Financial. American College of Finance. It's regionally accredited. They'll give you the voucher for it, or they'll give you the coursework for free. And that's the same program that we run our master's through. So free program.
Awesome. So speaking of free, what if you don't have a laptop or a desktop and you want to take some classes? Lori?
I did put this in the chat. If you don't have access, the American Job Centers, as I've mentioned before, are a great tool for that. They all have resource centers with computers and printers and access to the internet. There's no cost to use those services. Probably the limitation is the office hours for that particular center. But there's 2,400 of them, as I said, across the United States. And also Goodwill is another great resource for finding access to the internet or using computers in a lot of communities. So, just asking around that community colleges may have access to be available. Churches sometimes have that access without any denominational issues at hand. So, but I would say the first thing, is call your local American Job Center, go to Career One Stop, find out where that is, and you can find out what their office hours are and if they have those resources.
Awesome. I hope you guys can hear me because my screen just froze.
No, we can hear you. USO, don't forget your USO. Yes. If you're in an area, for instance, here in the Northern Virginia, Maryland area, the USO at Fort Belvoir even has a special room for military spouses and their small businesses. So you can look there. Any of the USOs will be able to help you with that.
I also think, and that's a really great point, Karen. The other thing I should have mentioned, Julie, is for anybody who's at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington, the American Job Center is on base. So all those resources are right there. So if someone has access to the base, they can get right on and use those. And there's a lot of American Job Centers that provide outreach services to local military installations. And the Department of Labor also has something called Employment Navigator Pilot Project. It's offering in a number of different installations. At the pilot right now, I did put in my slides, but they also work with military spouses and have access to those resources as well.
Thank you so much. So the next question that we have is regarding citizenship. And if they don't have that certificate, is it a huge handicap because they really want to be able to? Okay, Karen, you have comments about that. Excellent.
We don't ask citizenship.
Okay, because they said their degrees aren't from the US. Is that a problem?
Well, for certifications, no, but I know, Jill, am I right that it takes some translating, and sometimes you have to go to the embassy, because I had someone joining who needed it for their PMP, and yeah, that got messy, but they just went to their embassy and got it sort of translated over and credit hours switched and things like that.
Right. So you can always reach out to if you're going to school, you can reach out to the International Admissions Office and they'll have access to those transcript translation, the ones that they accept and things like that. But you can also go back to the embassy of your home country. And then it depends on what type of level of translation is needed. So if it needs like a seal and stuff like that, you're going to want to use one of the kind of accredited transcript translation services, which I popped in the chat from State Department. Lori, I'll let you go ahead and talk because I'll keep talking.
I just wanted to mention that the American Job Centers do not ask citizenship questions. If they're, it's up to, if they're doing any kind of employment work, it's up to the employer to deal with those issues. But the American Job Center services are open to everyone. There's no citizenship requirement. And I'll point out with the Grow with Google project too, there's no citizenship question on that. It's not a requirement. They do want people to be at least 18 years old, but there's no citizenship to use AJC services. Thanks.
Thanks, Lori.
So I also want to say one more thing about foreign-born spouses. You are the ultimate problem solvers, career switchers, pivoters, etc. I mean, you chose a life completely different from your own culture that you grew up in. So I don't ever want you to discount yourself because you're a foreign-born spouse. I mean, I applaud you. Like, that's so important that you are seen. And in the higher education space, you might feel that you don't stand out as much because there are a lot of international students and studying, especially if you get into graduate studies. But reaching out to the communities on those campuses, even if you're not attending, is great. If to talk about how they feel they're doing in their studies, especially at a particular school, you can kind of feel out how they feel, and you're talking to somebody who has a lot of the same experiences you have. You're also not necessarily, depending on your visa status, you're not going to have to go through international admissions, and those kinds of things are going to be individualized because everybody gets immigrates to this country with their spouse in a different way, but you can always talk to those international admissions offices because they're used to it. An institution I used to work with accepted students attending on a NATO visa, so they were very different than what the typical international student visa is, which is an F and a J visa. So paying attention to those kinds of things and asking questions, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's literally a professional organization of student affairs professionals who work purely with international students. That office is a great place to start also when you're thinking about going back to school.
Thanks, Jill. What resources or grants are there out there to assist with relocation expenses to attend education and training programs? Nothing?
I cannot think of.
They're trying to go from another state?
April, do you want to clarify in the chat what you're talking about with the relocation expenses? I'm not sure because I'm just going off of what's in there. So I can go on to the next one until she has the time to chat back in. This one here is asking about their resume, and is being a military spouse of X number of years something to squeeze onto your resume? And if you did, how would that look? So there's actually been a lot of chatter online about whether you should put military spouse on your resume or not. There's a whole LinkedIn article about that. So I think I've heard like very diametrically opposed opinions about it as well. And I honestly, my personal opinion, and I'm the moderator here, but I'm just going to throw this in because military spouse with 26 years, I think it's very dependent on your career field about how that plays out for you or not, and how long you've been one and what you're doing with your career. So I'm going to open that one up because this is like really a hot topic that gets talked about a lot. So who wants to start off? Terri, we have you start out. It was our resident spouse here.
As a military spouse who has, just recently had to do all of this, it's a huge debate. Do you out yourself as a military spouse? Do you put it out there? And personally, I did not on my resume specifically call out that I was a military spouse, but I did on my experience put in things like that I had, volunteered for military groups. So I would think it would probably be somewhat obvious. On LinkedIn, I am completely open about it because there is such a huge community of military spouses, veterans, all on LinkedIn looking for jobs. So as I was in my job search, I was really targeting companies to put in my applications with that I knew were going to be supporters of the military community. So I was never trying to really hide it. I did, in interviews, definitely highlight, because military spouses have superpowers that, a lot of other groups don't necessarily have, our adaptability and just all of the experiences we've been through. So I really did highlight that in interviews of this is, as a military spouse, this is what I bring to the table. But I personally never really applied for a company that wouldn't be supportive of that.
Amen to that. That is exactly where I am in my life. Now, if you're just starting out, that might not be your reality. And I understand that, but I am at the point in my career, in my life, that if they're not willing to, obviously I'm running MilSpouse Best. Everyone knows I'm a military spouse. It's a little bit different for me to stand here and say that now. But before I landed myself in this job and I was looking, I was very open about that. Laura, what do you have to say about it? Because you do this day in and day out and have this conversation every day with people.
Day in and day out. And my biggest suggestion will be to always do your research, and it all depends. Everyone's situation or job process or your resume will be tailored very differently. So always do your research and identify the companies that are calling themselves military friendly, military spouse friendly, and have actually initiated some initiatives for that, partner up with programs like ours, like Hire Our Heroes, USO, Pathfinder, IBMF, those we all hold different relationships to different employer partners or different key point of contacts for each organization, where calling yourself a spouse on the resume is totally okay, because we'll send a referral on your behalf. We'll highlight visibility, not to necessarily guarantee the job, because you still have to go through all the interview and all that legal requirements of obtaining a job like everybody else. But at least by sending a referral, working with a program that highlights that visibility, that, hey, this is a spouse, this is a referral. We love to be able to add more, exceptional talent from our community to your employee list, and that's a great way for you to feel proud and be identified as that. Now, in communities where still the military spouse title or self-identifying as such is still a stigma, or still kind of like a taboo, don't talk about it. You don't have to, because you're not being hired to be a military spouse. You're not being, your title as a military spouse behind the scenes, your matrimonial communion, whatever role, has nothing to do with the job or how you're going to take it and how you're going to adapt it. I mean, yes, our lifestyle will interfere. It might make our job a little more challenging in certain days, because we're single parents, we are transitioning of time. Sometimes we are the whole provider of everything, moving things around because our service member is departing or moving places or simply on deployment. But with that being said, you need to start creating a little more self-awareness of the skills that you have to provide for the employer, and selling those skills, not your title, not behind the scenes, your lifestyle. But of course, sometimes the lifestyle and those extra perks of being part of the military do come in handy when the employer or the companies do have those initiatives. So use that to your advantage and say, I'm a military spouse, what do you have to offer? In fact, there's some companies that already have, and I can tell you who those are of the things, so that we don't spotlight the specific employers and give them more airtime. But there's some employers that I work with that have made that question on their intakes. Are you a military spouse? Are you a veteran? Are you have disability? How do you self-identify? And so those are the kind of companies that I would want to go and be part of it. And definitely be able to showcase that I am a military spouse. But at the end, it really doesn't matter. Sell your skills. How many percentages were you, how much money were you able to save the company? How many people's jobs did you do by yourself, and how many members did you grow? How many things did you reinforce, and how many lives did you change throughout the impact of your day-to-day work, your answering, your calling, your things? All that stuff is what you need to focus on your resume to quantify really those results. And then another thing too is really be very intentional to really tailor your resume. It's so heartbreaking when I'm sending so many referrals or trying to, break that door with an employer and really sell you out, sell you beyond, not sell you out, but sorry, sell you for that employer as a referral. And then the resumes are not tailored, they're not showcasing or bragging more about you. Like Jay said earlier today, Imposter Syndrome is a real thing, even for us, right? But you really have to tailor and brag about all of your great achievements on your resume, the more better. And the more you take a resume intervention, the better, the earlier with any of our partners, any of our resources, or even through MSAP, through Hire Heroes USA, through HOH, or to any of the providers that they do that, please do that. That is the one virtue cream that you have to take care of it, because that really opens the door for not only yourself, but also for a lot of the programs. And research again, if you are applying to a company or to a nonprofit or to an organization that drives a lot of military talent. And I'm not going to say anything specifically to a specific resume provider, but if we all go to the same provider to tailor our resumes or to get help to tailor the resumes, then we don't stand out. We all of our 100 applicants, military spouses applying for that one job, look the same. So you really have to take really good really intentions to upscale or to design your resume that meets with you, but it follows standards so that you are able to really get the visibility and the reaction that you need to move forward. So if you're applying for an organization like Booster Families, and we're all going to the same provider to tailor a resume for that one job, then all of our 10 resumes are going to look the same. So that's my also big add-on to the thing. So, take the tips, take the steps, but also make them your own. Sorry,
Thank you so much, Laura. That was really awesome. And I'm going to have to go back and listen to all of it. Quick time check. We're finishing at 1:30, so that's 13 minutes. But I see 3 of you have your hands raised. And Lori, we're going to go with you first.
I just really kind of want to reiterate some of what Laura said. Is to remember that most resumes anymore are not chronological, listing all of your different places you've ever worked in your entire life. Most of them are now skill-based. And so that's a great place. And Jill mentioned this as well, is identify what skills you acquired during that time that you were a military spouse, regardless if you got it at a paid employment or it was part of managing your household or managing all of your moves. And a good place to go find some of the verbiage that can help bolster your resume is, again, on ONET, but put that stuff in your skills. Don't worry so much about putting it in with a job. I used to teach a job seeking skills class, and I used to say, well, it shows projected use of your time. I'm not so big on that anymore. I'm more on the skill-based resumes and making sure that people are selling themselves and being honest. And of course, you never want to inflate what you did, but it's also good to throw in specifics, numbers. So don't forget computer software that you might know how to use. When I worked with state government, people did not get interviews because they never mentioned that they could even use a computer. And they're like, well, isn't that kind of assumed? Not so much anymore. So, throw everything out there, but be honest about it, be realistic about it. That's what I would focus on. And I would be not so likely, if you want to mention your military spouse status, you can put that into a cover letter if you like, and it can be customized for that employer that you're applying with. And I'm going back to Laura as well, as be really careful when you send out your resume that you updated it to the job that you're applying for. I've seen it so many times where people forgot to do that, and they're applying for a job with me for a job that I don't have. And it's like, okay, well, obviously they're applying all over the place. So get somebody else to proofread it for you. We can't really proofread our own stuff very well. So
that is a really great tip. I have made that mistake and not had it done and really been upset with myself after the fact. Before we go to Jay and Karen, I'm going to throw out one more related question. So because this is kind of talking about being a spouse or not, how do you bring up in an interview that you're a caregiver for your spouse? So if Karen or Jay, if you have any tips on that when you're thinking about your answer, that would be helpful. Whoever wants to go next.
So what I would say, and this is what I tell transitioning service members, though they are getting out of the military, not to kind of mention the aspect of them doing military, because civilians don't understand that. You have to be able to equate what you do, your skill sets. And in the military, we speak a whole bunch of acronyms and jargons, and we translate that. So same thing for military spouses. It's not about the title, it's about what you do and how you do it. That needs to be translated. And so if you're a caregiver, then you highlight on that, right? Your focus. One of the tricks or hacks I tell people is you kind of ask a good way to get a good understanding about the job opportunities. When you're on an interview, you ask, what is it that you would like me to, what are the goals that you would like to have achieved within the next 12 months in having this position? So that when that person tells you what those goals are, you base your interview around those goals to say, okay, I've had this type of background, and these are the things that I've done. This is how it equates to that goal that you talked about. And it makes it a little bit more of a seamless process. So if you are a caregiver and you have requirements, right, you definitely want to highlight those because you don't want to misrepresent, right? Because you don't want to take a job that's demanding when you need remote opportunity, right? And so you just need to be honest, honestly, you just need to be honest. There's a difference between military friendly and military ready organizations. So you want to make sure that there's a list of resources out there of companies that want to hire you as a military spouse, as a caregiver. MySecco is one of them. They have a long list of job regs that's out there. So definitely jump onto that. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you so much. Karen, you have had your hand raised for a while, and I know that you've got some fantastic feedback that you'd like to share.
A couple of things. First of all, remember this. This is the spouse watchword, Semper Gumby. You are adaptable, you are flexible, and yes, you can do darn near anything. So remember that when you're putting that resume that I call the doily, it's really pretty. It's got holes. And it changes in pattern because suddenly you're doing this instead of that, from anthropology to career coaching. That's a leap, y'all. That is a leap. So, but please remember this. A lot of us have filled our time, especially when we were overseas, with volunteer work. Please do us all a favor. Do not put that work in a separate part of your resume. I had one person say to me, well, I don't think that I can qualify for a PMP because you have got to have so many thousands of hours of program management because and if I hear one more spouse say this, I will pop a bolt. Just a spouse. That is the worst. I never want to hear that. She said, well, I only did volunteer work. I said, so only, another one. I said, okay, what did you do? Well, I was the Girl Scout or something cookie person for the entire Eastern Seaboard. I said, okay, I want you to write down everything you did in that just a volunteer job and figure out how many hours, how much money, your volume, all that stuff. She came back to me a couple of days later and said, wow, I did a lot. I said, yes, you did. You did do a lot. Please look at that volunteer work. There's a fantastic thing written a long time ago, a very long time ago, but it still pertains. Making volunteerism work for you, Blue Star families. It translates your volunteer work from mill speak to corporate speak. It forgets English altogether, but it's really good to copy and paste because it is now online. So you can take a look at what volunteer jobs you did and translate them and use them. You earned that. They are not hiring your past pay rate. They are hiring your skills and your abilities. So whether you got paid in a thank you and a plaque and a hat, or you got paid in money, the only person who cares about that is your tax person. And thank you for bringing up cover letters, Lori. I love them. They can fix things. They can explain things. But you know what? When you're looking at that company, like Laura said, you've got to be mindful of the company you're applying to, and get on LinkedIn, find someone in that company who has a military affiliation and reach out. It's called networking. Reach out. If it's a veteran or if it's a spouse, reach out to them. We are a small community, and we are always there for each other. So don't feel weird about, I don't know this person. So you've still got something in common. They're putting their information on LinkedIn because they want to make themselves available to you. So please do that for yourself as well, but be very mindful. Military friendly, like Jay said, yeah, okay. But find someone who really means it, who puts their money where their mouth is, and who is known in the community as being really good to work for. Getting off my soapbox.
I love that. And you're already getting clapbacks in the chat that says that they're going to take your quote. They're not hiring your past pay rate. They're hiring your skills, and they're going to say it to all the spouses that they meet. So I love that. We've really made an impact today. We are coming up on time. I want to do a few last minute closing things. First of all, this Whova app doesn't close today. So you can still engage in the community board. You can network with each other, visit the resource exhibitor booths. We transitioned during the conversation a lot from education to what the next step is, right? So back in June, MilSpouse Fest had two panels. One was on MilSpouse employment and careers, and the other one was on MilSpouse entrepreneurship. So my team is going to drop those links in the chat. You can go back and watch our YouTube recordings of those conversations, and you'll see some familiar faces, Laura Torres on some of them. So that is fantastic that you can engage with that. The next thing is, don't forget, we're going to do another one of these next month for military children's education. So you can sign up for that. We're going in person. We're going to San Diego. We're so excited. We're going to have our full MilSpouse Fest event. Laura's going to be there. She's going to be on our Building Connections panel. So if you are in that region, you can come on. We're going to have some limited hybrid opportunities there as well. And I've just loved all the engagement we've had today. Jessica wants to know, where can we find the Blue Star Families article about translating volunteer experience? So Laura, that's your homework. Karen, if you have it handy, that you can share it too.
I'll have it.
Awesome. So we'll get that, and I don't know, maybe you can even put that up into your booth. So we promised 2 more prizes for those of you who stuck with us the whole time. So we have 2 more prize winners. Stephen Dillman, you win the Amazon gift card, and April Santilano, you've won the DoorDash. So thank you so much. We're getting great props here. Thanks for your excellent information and sharing the time. We're going to send out a survey. We want to hear your feedback about this. We want to make this better. We want to do more topics that you guys are interested in. We have 2 minutes left. Are there any last comments from our panel before we hit the road and get back to work? Jill.
I just popped in the chat, but we never got to scholarships. And as somebody who works in post-secondary ed, I cannot stress to you enough that you need to complete a FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's tied to a lot of information from your tax return, but a lot of people just don't fill it out because they feel like, well, I'm not going to qualify. I'm not going to qualify for a Pell Grant or a good kind of loan or whatever. if you do not fill it out, there's a lot of institutions, they cannot offer you any institutional aid or grants if you've never filled it out. The earlier you fill it out, the more likely it is that you will get a scholarship or grant. So the FAFSA opens up in October for the next academic year. You do not have to, Stephen, you do not have to do a FAFSA for Chapter 35 because that is different. Chapter 35 is from your VA benefits, has nothing to do with FAFSA. I say do complete your FAFSA, even if you're going to study on a Chapter 35. Because you may, what if you run out? What if you've tapped out? What if you transferred some of it to a spouse or a kid or whatever, and you're like 2 semesters away? Complete a FAFSA. When you've completed it, you'll get something. I'm old, so I got a piece of paper in the mail and I had to say yes or no. But now you can get it in your single service with your login, with your student logins, and you can accept or decline any or all of the aid. But if you don't fill it out, you will not qualify for institutional aid. The private scholarships, look now, right now. If you're not thinking about going until fall of 23, you need to look now. Anything that you would have nerded out for your kid who's going to high school, nerd it out for yourself as well. Everything that says military spouse, scholarship, whatever, Google it. I put a lot in the community chats about scholarships, but I cannot stress to you enough, if you do not complete a FAFSA early, you will be missing out on money on the table.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to USAA for sponsoring all of our events. And thank you to Golden Gate University for sponsoring this specific panel discussion on MilSpouse Education. Like I said, go visit those resource booths. There's a lot of great info in there, and go drop in the community chat channel where we've got all of those LinkedIn contacts. I want to see more requests and I want to connect with all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop recording and see you next time.